What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Shootin' the Shit with Ray. Today I'm here with my great friend Ben, and we just got back from Canada. We're 2 hours north of Saskatoon on the Reindeer Lake, cutting it up and fishing and having a great time. We're here at his game room. He was nice enough to let me stay over till tomorrow. There was no flights for me to get home, so we love hunting together and hanging out. So figured let's just chop it up and talk about hunting. And one of the topics that we feel very passionate about is kids in the outdoors and different things that we've seen in and out of where we see that's falling in the outdoor. And some people have so many different outlooks on when it's too soon to get your kid into it, or so many other things, right? I mean,
yeah, I think it's great. I mean, as you know, I get to bring my boys to your youth season in Missouri, and there's a bunch of other kids there, and they all cut it up. And there's an age range. You know, when I went to your camp last year, there was 7-year-olds all the way up to like 13-year-olds.
Yep.
And so we get into this discussion on what to shoot for a kid. So you and I can like have these discussions on, you know, should your kid shoot a big buck, or should you be disappointed if they shoot your, 2 or 3-year-old that you've been managing for a few years? And then like, what is the right age? So, I think from my perspective, I've been blessed because I have 2 boys that are young, and they were different. So I just say, like, my opinion, the first thing when it comes to what is the right age to hunt, I think it's more kid. Like, each kid is different. And I see a lot of parents that don't do anything. They say, well, 7 years old is too young. And you've known Colton since he's been 5, and I mean, that kid tears it up between shooting, walking, shed hunting, but he started early. And so I just say, I think that the right age to start is really the kid will tell you when it is.
Yep.
You shouldn't force a kid to hunt because he's 8. You shouldn't force a kid to hunt or make him wait until he's 12.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I've always admired about you, and I've seen it since Colton was 5, is, he always asks his son, like we just talked about it, like if it's 5:45 and, sunsets at 6:30 and prime time is right there around the corner, if Colton says, all right, I would like to leave, you've always been like, well, it's going to be the best time right now, but if you want to leave, we leave. And if he says, I want to leave, I mean, even, that one time we were turkey hunting and we went to go up that big hill past my wife's stand in the back there.
Yeah.
You looked at Colton and you're like, listen, we're going to have a far walk ahead of us, so we got to go up this big hill. Do you want to do that, or do you just want to go? And he's like, I want to do it. And we did it, and he never complained, and he understood that it was his decision. And I mean, I've always admired that, and I think that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, I think that's right. That goes along with like my point of view. If you pressure too little, they don't get to experience it, which by pressure too little, I mean, I'll wait until they're 12. When you and I grew up, we didn't have these opportunities to even be blessed to go out and harvest animals or hunt unless we wanted to sit with someone until we were, at least in my state of Wisconsin, 12. And so I think that whole thing about pressure is right. Like, let your kids make the decision. I have a different younger boy, he's 6.5, and I asked him if, he loves hunting, but he's afraid of the gun yet because he hears it goes bang, he sees his brother shooting. And so I asked him, like, are you ready to go gun hunting and we'll shoot a doe this year? No, I just want to do a crossbow. Perfect.
Yeah. And I don't, you should definitely not weigh, what you think he should be doing. Oh, I think he should be gun hunting. No, if that's the way he wants to grow into it, just let him just make his own story, make his own, growth in the outdoors. I just feel like I've seen a lot of dads are like, well, my son's 10 and he should be in the outdoors. And all of a sudden it's like, rush to get him camo, rush to get him a gun, shove him in the woods. And it's like, that's your passion, that's your love. But now you're just kicking him out the door into it. And it can go 2 ways. You can either just scare him off of it completely, or he might love it, but it's very hard. And just like you had said, which is great about, sometimes it's not about them hunting, it's just being in the outdoors with you.
Yeah, and I think that goes to your point. Like, there is a lot of people that I've seen. Again, I'm a big fan of getting your kids involved as soon as you feel they're ready and as soon as they raise their hand and say, yeah, I want to do this with you. But I've seen a lot of people, whether it's at the kids at the gun club or friends that do what you say, like, hey, I want to go hunting, and then like I want my boy to hunt, and so they buy him guns and clothes. I'm a big believer that before your kids should hunt, they need to spend a minimum of a year, and a year being one turkey season, one deer season archery, one deer season rifle with you. They have no chance to hunt. You don't give them a weapon. If they're 5, great. If they're 10, great. But that's my opinion, is they have to spend a season with you before they actually get to go out and have an opportunity to harvest, because then you can just relax a little bit. I personally didn't worry about bringing a bog pod with and, doing all the gun safety at each sit. Like, I could actually hunt myself, but become a mentor to my kid, because we would hunt and they would get to see it, and it meant more for them than when they actually got to harvest it than just shoving them up there and letting them go.
Well, and I agree with that completely, because a lot of people learn from watching. You can tell somebody something 1,000 times, but once they see it or experience it, sometimes they learn in that avenue. So, to your point of taking your son, not being able to hunt, and to watch you, he gets to see how you act when a buck comes out that you want to shoot, or a doe, or a turkey, and how you execute that shot. Sometimes I feel like the kid's never seen that, and all of a sudden you're just pressuring him. I've witnessed them freeze up, because they want to meet your expectations, but they've never seen this go down. So it's such an unknown world for them. They'll freeze, and sometimes I've seen too, like the kid will do a bad shot, and all of a sudden it's just like the parent just rips on them right there, for doing a bad shot. And it's like, listen, we've all done bad shots, congratulate him, calm him down. Once it's all calm, then you can tell him, all right, this is what just happened. You just shot him in the guts, so we're gonna have to I can't believe you just shot him in the guts. It's like,
I'll add on to it a little bit, because it's another question that I get asked a fair bit, because people have seen my kids do it. In addition to, hey, you have to hunt with me for a year before you can hunt. Like, how often do you take your kids to the archery range, or let them shoot in the backyard with a crossbow, or go to the gun range? And I think from my experience around my group of friends, it's not enough is the answer.
Yeah.
Like, I made both of my boys for turkey season shoot literally a box of 410 shells a piece before they could even turkey hunt. And even to this day, they still have to go out and shoot 10 or 12 times each preseason. Same thing with rifle. And I don't think we're giving our kids enough, range training to be effective when it really matters.
No, and in my opinion, confidence harvests the animal. And if you're not confident with your weapon, and I see that a lot too. Like, a dad's like, well, this is my gun. He hasn't shot it, but I know it's on. And it's like,
Doesn't even know where the safety is. He gets in the blind and he's like, where's the safety? It's a train wreck.
100%. And then another topic that, I see a lot is going that kind of back to the beginning, is that I've seen a father, a son, or a father and a daughter go out hunting, and they, let's say, have an expectation of themselves to shoot a 150. And all of a sudden they put all that weight on their kid, that when a buck comes out that he's all excited to shoot, to you, yes, it's not a big deer for you anymore, but it's a great deer for your kid. And I feel like the kid should have the decision on what he wants to harvest, not you sit there and be like, well, it's not a 150. We need you gotta let him grow just like you grew. If not, he might not understand, and if he's blessed to shoot a 200-inch deer off the rip, great. But if, you might rip that away from him of understanding what he just did, growing. Because I think that's what honestly drove me so hard, being from the Everglades of Florida and only shooting little spike deer. And yeah, they're just a spike, but it drove me so hard to really value and love as these deer start to get bigger. It makes it, it's huge to me, So I feel like you should let them grow with their outdoor life.
Yeah, I agree with that a lot, and I think that includes, letting them shoot does. In fact, I made it a requirement for my boys could not shoot a buck until they shot their first doe. A, I wanted to make sure they were a good shot, and B, I wanted to see if they had, quote unquote deer fever.
Yep.
And that's another reason why I'm a big proponent of requiring your kid to hunt with you for a season before they can, because you and I won't shoot, depending on where we are, we're going to shoot the biggest buck available to us.
Yep.
But on our home farms, we're not going to shoot a 2 or a 3 or probably not a 4-year-old. And when a decent buck walks out, you have an opportunity that mentoring year to say, hey, like that's a 4-year-old deer, I'm going to pass it because it's going to be bigger. Doesn't break their heart because they can't hunt.
Yeah.
And then to your point, like when you do get to take them out and it's their opportunity to harvest, the game's over.
Oh.
Deer management. Let them shoot whatever the crap they want the first time. If it happens to be 200, well then, you have a different conversation you have to have with your boy or girl.
Yeah, and it's funny because, with my wife and son that, got into hunting because they just fell in love with the outdoors because of me. And it was just, I just never gave them a pressure. I just said, hey, listen, I'm going to go out. And all of a sudden my wife wanted to start shooting a bow, fell in love with hunting. My son wanted to start shooting a bow. He fell in love with hunting. And my thing to them was, and it might be too many, but it's just a thing I've always lived by. The first 10 legal deer of your life, shoot them. And it takes away any pressure. And that's like a goal I gave them. First 10 legal deer you see, you shoot them. After that, you can start upping what you want to do. And I just think there's so much, and there's a lot of shaming that goes on nowadays too, oh, I don't want to post this deer, it's not big enough. Or it's just like, you do what you want to do and what makes you happy. And let your kid make the decision and let them grow in the outdoors with us, and that's, that's the future.
Yeah, it is the future. And I would say that to that point, there's a lot of dads that do put it, and I'm assuming moms have not seen it, and that we have seen moms in hunting camp nowadays, which is awesome.
Great.
But I've seen my oldest Colton, he still talks about it to this day. We were at youth season, somewhere, I can't remember, I don't think it was at your place, but there was another kid in camp and he wanted to shoot the 8-pointer that day. The kid tells the story and his dad wouldn't let him. And it was only like his second buck or something, and Colton and this other boy were playing, at night and doing their deal, and the boy was upset about it. And Colton still talks about it to that day that, that dad should have let the kid shoot. And so I think it transcends down, like if your kid's happy, you better be happy.
100%.
And now if he or she has shot, his third deer, and then maybe you can encourage him, well, this one's just got to be a little bit bigger. This one's got, and then you teach them about age and they progress like all of us do. But I'm with you, the first few, let it rip.
Oh, I've seen Colton grow so much, and like my son as well, and it's cool to see them when they're there and they're like, I don't think that deer's old enough. How old do you think that deer is?
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, like you had no part in that. I remember the first 130, my son had shot a few of them, and a 130 came out, and my son's looking at it, he's just too young, I'm gonna pass on it. I was like, okay,
that works.
Now we're growing, and even my wife to this day, and my son will text me a picture. Do you think it's a good buck for me to shoot? I'm like, it's up to you, buddy. You're in the seat. And my wife will look at me and be like, hey, what do you think? It's your hunt. You do what you want to do, and that's gonna be great, and I think we're very blessed, number one, to live in the United States.
Amen to that.
We get to do so much of this, and we're very blessed to have families that love to hunt. Hey everybody, I would like to take a quick second here and say thank you to my sponsors. First of all, I would like to give a big thank you to Tacticam cell cameras. I have been using them for 4 years now and have countless number of success stories using their cell cameras. They have absolutely changed the game. If you haven't checked out a Tacticam cell cam, you will not regret it. Also, I would like to give a big thank you to Weaver Custom Calls. He makes custom turkey calls, and they are outstanding. I mean, the guy is part turkey, so definitely go check out Weaver Custom Calls. I would also like to give a big thank you to Dirty South Taxidermy. He's mounted a lot of my deer. He mounts all kinds of animals. Go check out Dirty South Taxidermy. Now let's get back to the show.
If you have kids, do your very, very best to get them into an outdoor activity, hunting, fishing, and
It's never too early.
we kind of go back to the start of this conversation, like what is too early? Because you just said it's never too early.
Yeah.
I agree. As fathers and my wife, should we encourage our kids to get in, and the sooner the better, because what I'm seeing now is some parents are like, well, 5 years old is too young to shoot a gun. Okay, I disagree, but
Oh,
some kids don't want to shoot a gun at 5, no problem. But what happens now, Ray, like you've seen it, is by the time you're in 5th grade, there's an expectation that if you're a baseball player, you're playing baseball 4 days a week, plus a tournament every other week. And if you're in soccer, you're practicing by the time you're in 5th grade, 4 days. Hunting's, like if you don't start at an early age anymore,
nope.
I think that a lot of kids, especially if you're city kids, end up so deep into sports by the time they're 10 years old that hunting is gone
Yep.
as a passion.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll go out for the family tradition, but like AAU and baseball and basketball and soccer has become so competitive for kids that if you don't start them early, I believe it's hard to get them.
Yeah, you could lose them because even I have a hunter that hunts with me. And he's a great friend also, Eddie, and his son is like avid baseball, like passionate. You met him last year.
Yeah.
Passionate about baseball, loves baseball, but he's been able to intertwine the outdoors in the middle of it. And okay, hey, we're gonna do baseball this much, and then we're gonna do outdoor stuff this much, and still keep it in it. And he told me the other day that he even asked his son, he's like, hey, do you want to do, I forgot what it was exactly, like a baseball tournament, or do you want to go to youth season in Missouri? And he's like, youth season in Missouri.
Good.
And it's like, all right, that's awesome. And like I have pictures of me in diapers sitting on an airboat in diapers, and I just don't think there's any time too early. And I didn't start hunting until like 10 or 11, really. I didn't get my first bow in my hand, but I was just in the outdoors so much. So it's not necessarily, kind of like you said, it's not necessarily you need to be hunting. You just need to be in the woods and hanging out with your son or daughter and doing what you love to do. And if it goes to them, that's awesome. But you should definitely not lay your pressure of your dream onto them. You just want to, and you just get to spend time with them. And that's the gold part. It goes by so fast. It's like you think, oh, I have tons of youth seasons left, man, and you'll look back at it and be like, I regret missing that 1 year of youth season. And you're like, some people, you have 15 years of, or whatever, 10 years of youth season, but that one is the one you're gonna regret because you're like, man, he was such a kid. And I miss it. I miss my son, being on my lap. I can feel him shaking and I'm shaking and we're looking at the, I miss that. I miss it so much. But I was so blessed to be able to do it when a lot of dads don't ever experience that,
Yeah, and I'll kind of end I agree. Like to me, hunting has changed. Right, it used to be about me, and now like my passion is whether I can take a vet out, see a buddy, or just be with a buddy to hunt.
Yeah.
One of us should harvest, but it really, I really love it. Like I spend a lot of time taking kids, and including mine, and it's great. And I'll just end. The other thing that I would encourage, outdoor-minded parents to do. And a lot of this is kind of like most probably do it, but it's not just about hunting. Like you talked about, hey, you get the text from a potential client that says, how's this gun? It's his first day hunting. I mean, again, I told you that I'm a big believer in you have to take them for season, but take your kids shed hunting. Like when they're 3 years old, if they can only walk to the end of the cornfield, who cares? Yeah. Shed hunting, every other day in March, and we might find one, we may find none. But again, it's that outdoors, so take them shed hunting, take them turkey hunting, then take them mushroom hunting, then take them to a local pond or down at the river, and they'll end up loving the outdoors.
Yep. And, and it just makes them a hands-on person, for the rest of their lives. They really understand it. In the world we live in, if anything ever goes sideways, you don't know the outdoors, But, well, I appreciate it, brother.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for having
much.
me.
And, well, guys, till the next time with Shootin' Shit with Ray, thank you so much for coming on here. Hit the subscribe button, drop a comment. I love reading comments and answering them. It's my passion. I love doing this. And if you ever want to check out my outfit, it's RMA Outfitters, and we'd love to have you down there. Until the next time, see you then.